Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Mekas. Our special guest today, Jerry McDaniel, a certified clairvoyant medium, psychic, intuitive, ordained minister, not in the Catholic Church.
That's true, yeah.
And former talk show radio host of JMac Medium Show, heard weekly in the Orlando area. He is the author of 2 award-winning nonfiction mind, body, and spirit books, Channeling the Mothership, Messages from the Universe, and his latest book, Beyond the Rational Realm, Lifting the Veil of the Spirit World. Jerry holds certifications in psychic mediumship, remote viewing, metaphysics, natural law, and spiritualism. Jerry is a practicing Catholic and is an occasional speaker and message minister at the Spiritualist Church of Awareness and Lumina Spiritual Center. Jerry is a 2-time transplant survivor and is a board member of the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, Spirit, and From Grief to Hope. I introduce to you, everybody, Jerry McDaniel. Welcome, Jerry. How are you?
Hey, Paul. It's great to be here on this. Don't know when this is going to air, but it's not exactly a sunny day in Florida.
I know. It's windy, getting cold. It's
a monsoon.
Luckily, we don't have the snow. So
yes, we're grateful for that.
Yeah, very much so. So Jerry, I first met you at one of the very first or beginning phases of Spirit Fests here in Florida when it was really small, probably maybe a good dozen or so vendors and stuff in the Orlando area. And that was a while ago. And then you were going to speak at the Chapel of Spiritual Light when I was pastoring that in Orlando back in 2018, 2019. And then some events had happened that kind of got in the way and kind of pushed that off to the side. How did you first get into how you developed these metaphysical gifts?
Yeah, Paul, that's a great question. I didn't discover these gifts like a lot of people, at a very early age. I really didn't discover my gifts until I got into a mediumship, a meditation circle.
Yeah.
That was about, oh gosh, I'll be 67 on St. Patrick's Day, which maybe by the time this airs, St. Patrick's Day may have passed. So I may be 67 already. But I didn't really discover my gifts about 8-9 years ago, really.
Yeah.
And a lady who was doing housekeeping, Annette, her name's Annette. We're still really good friends with her. And she was a medium, a really good medium. She still is an amazing medium. And she started giving me some messages and a reading. Then she gave my wife, Mary, a reading. And then she invited us to a weekly Saturday night dinner, and then a Sunday evening meditation circle, which ended up being a mediumship circle.
Yeah.
And I attended that every week for about 4.5 years.
Wow.
And that's just where I discovered gifts that I never knew I had. We're born with these metaphysical gifts, and sometimes it takes an event or something or a defining moment to bring those gifts to the surface. Mm-hmm. And Paul, I think the reason I discovered these so late in life is to give people some hope that they don't think their metaphysical gifts has passed them by because they didn't discover this at a very early age. And I'm here to say you discover these at any point in your life.
Yeah.
And since then, I've done readings, a good number of readings. I've done readings for people in almost a dozen countries, and a lot in the United States, all over, most by phone or Zoom. I've done group readings in various places like Phoenix, Arizona. I had a group of 35-40, did a big group reading, gallery reading. And it's just been tremendous. It's brought me closer to God.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that's the key. It's brought me closer to God. It's opened my eyes beyond anything that I thought was possible, quite honestly.
It's a tremendous gift, not only to the reader, or the medium, but it's a gift to the world. It's a gift to give people, to allow people out there, from strangers to friends to family, to be able to deliver a message from spirit, to deliver a message from their loved ones, that, if they, when spirit always wants to talk to us, they always have a message to give to us, and to be able to give that to somebody, whether it's a very important message or a message of love, a message of, confirmation that, yes, I am here. I've always been here. I'm watching over you. To give that to somebody, well, even if it's, and I've done it to a complete stranger. I was telling this story when I was in Shanghai. I had an unsolicited message, and normally when I do messages, it's the living coming to me, wanting to know what spirit has to say. This was the other way around. This was spirit coming to me in a country I knew nobody, and there was a message from an old Chinese lady that wanted me to give a message to one of the servers at a restaurant. And I'm like, that was the first time that happened. And I tell you what, that changed that young girl's life forever. But it is a gift to have, and all the way around.
Yeah. Quick little story, if I may. When I first started with these gifts and was doing a lot of readings, I did a lot of tent stuff. I did a lot of psychic fairs, and I did one, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. It's been a while. And at first, I just said psychic readings, mediumship readings, clairvoyant readings, donation.
Yeah.
Right. And at first hour, I was there for 4 hours. And it went from 6 to 10. It was a whole bunch of, probably about 40 or 50 tents of various things. I was the only one doing it, metaphysical gifts. So pretty soon I had a long line, and it was just amazing. But there's the one thing that stood out, this elderly lady, probably in her 70s, came forward, and I got this little bitty boy image, and the little bitty boy that was speaking, and she broke down crying.
Yeah.
And he came through to say, it wasn't your fault. Then when he said sis, I knew that had a brother-like energy to it. He said, sis, it wasn't your fault. I may have been 5 or 6 or 7. I knew what I was doing. And she just started sobbing. What had happened, I ascertained what had happened, is that the little boy had run out into the street and was run over and killed by a car. Her parents and members in her family blamed her for that. She has lived with that. She was about 9 or 10. She has lived with that for decades.
Wow.
Decades. And when she came to hug me, I could feel just the tension and relief go from her body. And that's, so people who say it's not from God, they are gifts from God. And I knew, and that was early on in my stages of my development, I knew that for a fact that these are gifts from the highest realm, for our highest and our best good. And it gave her, and like I said, she was probably late 70s. And she stood for the longest time. And as a matter of fact, it started raining after her, but after the people, but really started raining. Speaking of rain today, and so it just poured. So speaking of rain, but I never forget that nice elderly woman, and what comfort, not me, but spirit. I'm 20-25% of the equation. It's really the energy of the person and an energy of the realm, spirit realm, whether it's somebody coming through or a clairvoyant message or a psychic message or what have you. And that's the validation that you're on the right path helping people.
Yeah. It's amazing when you touch a person's life, and even some of the messages that I've given to, like, group messages, a bunch of room through a couple for either a couple strangers or people you've known, and then spirit comes in and you deliver a message, and or in person, Yeah, it's amazing where whatever type of information you get from spirit, you deliver that, and then you just see the person's energy change.
Yeah,
Um, that right
yeah,
there, what you explained, yeah, that is a very dramatic. That can really, it's a dramatic incident that happened, and then the amount of guilt that a person has, has held with them their entire life or for a
yeah,
very long time, and then you just see that lifted. Um, yeah, it's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because we live with so much guilt, whether you're a Catholic or not. We live with so much guilt, and spirit doesn't want us to alleviate that guilt, get rid of that guilt, wash it off, almost like a shower, and find peace and happiness in the sacred moments of everyday life. It doesn't have to be a mountaintop sacred, but everyday life. Spirit wants us to find sacred moments
Yeah. Yeah.
of peace, and to let us live in peace and happiness. And
Even the guidance aspect of it, because I've there's been a lot of, I'd say probably about 60% of all the readings I've done from spirit, it was messages of guidance. Somebody is going through
yeah,
some challenge in their life, and whether it's an ancestor that comes in from spirit, or ascended master or guardian angel or spirit guide, they're like, okay, why, instead of doing this, let's try doing this,
mhm,
help guide them.
yeah,
And then when I do those types of readings, I've noticed that the person I'm reading for, they're like, that's kind of odd because I kept feeling that. And I told them, I was like, that spirit is working through you.
yeah,
It's just, you need to learn how to listen.
yes,
So,
yeah. I mean, it's the noise around our lives these days is just, at the time, I don't know when this is being aired, but of course, Russia and Ukraine, we got that big heavy thing.
yeah, yeah,
But even before that, even before the pandemic, even before, go back 10, 20, 30, it's noise around our lives. And how can we listen to the voice of God, the voice of the message from the universe, or the wisdom of spirit? How can we listen to all that when there's so much noise?
yeah, yeah,
Um, and so that's when we try to find that silence, that solitude, that stillness, that quiet, and it's hard to do, but it's not hard to do. It's hard for me at times. Just like everybody else, it's hard to find a quiet spot to just sit there and listen. And yeah,
yeah,
as spirit gave me this sentence a while back. I used it in one of my books. When we hear nothing is when we hear everything.
yeah,
Everything we're supposed to hear. And I remember when I first got into meditation, Paul, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh boy, this is horrible. This is horrible. I thought I'd spent like 20, 30 minutes in there, and I looked at the clock when I blew out the candle. It's
yeah.
about 7, 8 minutes. And the message God of Spirit is, we just want you to sit with us. We just want you to sit. We just want to teach you patience. And I thought, well, that's a good lesson. Don't know if I've learned it fully, but yeah, it's still a really good lesson.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To sit, to time out for mindfulness, and to yeah, get in touch with the self, the energy, and helping raise that vibration around us, so we can meet.
Absolutely.
Us and spirit can meet in the middle for good communication.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, have you known it being difficult to do readings via phone or Zoom, opposed to being in person or in-person events?
No, it's the energy is energy, right? And I've done readings where people will send me questions, maybe a couple of questions,
Mhm.
and it may take me an hour to write, to type it out, but I've done readings by email. It's not the preferred way, but there's still energy there. There's still everything is, this, everything is energy. Everything's about energy. And the path somebody is on, I tell people all the time, that's what I'm doing, is reading the energy. Now, on their path could be loved ones, could be, like you said, ascended masters, could be archangels, could be a clairvoyant, could be a lot of symbolism, which is a lot of clairvoyance. It could be something psychic, which means this, watch out for this. as I tell people, it can all change tomorrow. It probably won't, but you can manifest your destiny. Now, God may know the end game, but we don't know the end game. And so, other than going to the spirit realm. And so the energy through Zoom, through phone, through in person, you do get a little bit more, I think, but it's difficult to do that at times. But it's energy is energy, and so it comes through the same. There's vibration in people's voice, and you know that. There's energy in people's voice. There's when you look at someone, what someone once said, eyes were the windows of the soul, right? And so when you're doing a Zoom or doing it in person, it does add a little bit more. But there's, I've done reading for people in all but maybe a dozen states. And of course, almost all that was Zoom and phone. So the energy is there. The energy is good. The intent of the other person matters a lot to me, Paul. I've had people who are, like that. And I'm like, well, why don't you come to me for a reading? It's, and they got that brick wall around them. And I'm like, okay. And sometimes you can break through it, and sometimes they're not going to allow you. And spirit goes, okay, just move on. We'll get somebody else that wants to hear the messages and the information and the enlightenment and wisdom and knowledge that we want to share. So
I've had that a couple of times where somebody will want a reading, but they're blocking it. They put up this wall, and I can't get anything. I'll get like it's like like it's like a food strainer, like you're straining water. It's like these little tiny bits and stuff like that, but I'm not getting the full message. And I'll tell them that. I'm like, well, and this mainly at like fairs and stuff. I was like, well, I can only get this amount of information because there's a block here, and then I'll end up going to somebody else, and then it'll be completely different. Somebody else will pick up on it.
And the reverse, they've been blocked somewhere and they come to you and they said, I did this with this other person and they just couldn't get anything. I said, well, you got to remember, it's different energies, different alignments of those energies. It doesn't mean they weren't trying. It just means for whatever reason, they couldn't get anything. And I tell them, that's happened to me. It happens to all of us.
And it's almost like it's like that companionship energy. It's certain readers can't read certain people.
Exactly.
you get the perfect reader, and you get and then you get the perfect sitter and stuff like that, and their energies kind of just mesh. It's like,
exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. What's been your experience in using these gifts with you being a Catholic? Any pushback from people in the church?
Not many. I mean, there's a few, but not many. I mean, what is sort of paved the way for Catholicism metaphysical gifts is, number one, we have a number of saints, almost all of them women that possesses the metaphysical gifts. They may not have called them that, but they were that. St. Julian of Norwich, hope I'm pronouncing it right. St. Teresa of Avila, who's real. I mean, she had, they had the visions, they had the, but there's a few, I think, Paul, the biggest challenge for me is I discovered, I discovered my gifts so late. So they didn't know me for years and years as doing anything like this. And all of a sudden, this has happened. I think so many of and I'm giving a ton of readings to people who are Catholic, people who are Christian, and I tell them, listen, it all works. It all works. It all, in the spirit realm, there isn't one religion over another. It's light and love and your soul and energy and vibrations and ascension to different dimensions, higher dimensions. I said, there's not the division that there is here. And here, every religion thinks we have the secret handshake that'll get us to the promised land. And unfortunately, it's not like that. So for the most part, yes, it's been accept this. My brother was a Methodist minister for 35 years
Wow.
before he retired and passed away, unfortunately. And he read my books, didn't have any problem.
Huh.
Now I've given a couple of books to the Catholic priest where we go to mass, and he said, it's not my thing, but who am I to question God? But it's just not my thing. And I go, okay, that's, somebody once told me, God doesn't care what you do as long as that what you do draws you closer. And I'm going to say him, even though we know God's not a male. As long as it draws you closer to God, God doesn't care. Doesn't care what you do. For the most part, really just doesn't care. Do what you can, as long as whatever you do draws you closer to God, infinite intelligence, the source, the great I am.
The highest and best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, the fact that we get hung up on is speaking to the dead. There are over 3,000 religions in the world that I read of, and I don't know all 3,000 religions, but the vast majority talk about continuity of life.
Yeah.
And that's why I took all the spiritualism courses. That is their mantra, is this the continuity of life and the fact that life continues. And a lot of people want to know that their loved ones are okay, want to know that. And I deal with a lot of suicides every week for years and years. Someone's lost a loved one due to suicide.
Yeah.
And they want to know, could they have stopped it? Could they prevent it? Could they have, just this week, I did 2 readings, because in both readings had someone come through that had taken their own life. And people here on earth, they want to know that the loved one is not in pain. Mm. And because it gets back to that guilt again. It gets back to the guilt. I should have done something. Sometimes we see the signs, this, Paul, and sometimes we don't see the signs.
Correct.
We don't know what's going through people's mind.
Because some people hide it very well.
They do.
In fact, I've known some people that, they maybe not have, committed suicide. I knew a couple that tried, but I never suspected it, ever. Mm-hmm. It's like they were the happiest, joyful people that I knew. And it's like, I would have never expected it.
Yeah, no, you're right. And so, Catholicism has changed. There's no longer the admission of heaven and hell like we think it, like we were taught at an early age, no matter if you were religious or not. Yeah. Just doesn't quite exist like that. But we got to put a label on something. See, Spirit really doesn't put labels on anything. But we do. That's our job down here, is we got to label something. Yeah. And so most people have come around that I know, and especially when I give them a reading, they go, oh, so that's what it is. We thought you were going to tell us when we were going to die. I said, no, nobody has that right to do that. Yeah. So it's been good. It's been good. It really has.
That's good. That's good. That brings up the question: are there conflicts with religion in metaphysical gifts? Have you seen any conflicts? Any?
I think so. Yeah. Because I talk about religion a lot, because I think when people put the word organized in front of religion, it's a turnoff. And if you think of, in a lot of religions, they don't have borders. Borders you can cross over. They don't think of themselves as sanctuaries, which is a safe place, a safe haven. They put up boundaries, not to be gone outside, not to be gone inside. And to me, spirituality is from within going out, religion is out coming in. Now they can meet and have a very good relationship, but a lot of times they don't. Yeah. The thing I like about religion, though, it's a community of energy. And it's for the most part, like-minded people worshiping the higher source, God, Jesus, who never wanted people to worship him, by the way. And so the conflict, and here's where where I find the conflict is when metaphysical books first appeared in Barnes and Noble, or it was under the occult.
Oh, I
With a
remember
label on
that.
the
Yep.
occult.
Yep.
And then occult went to New Age. And
Yeah.
that's where people even started getting turned off. What's this New Age religion? There is no New Age religion. New Age to me, a new age of thinking,
Yep.
a new age of spirituality, a new age of saying religion is great, but I want more. I need more.
Mm-hmm.
And now the great thing about Barnes and Noble, probably a book, it's now called self-transformation. And I really think that's what happens with metaphysics, is self-transformation. I really do. So yeah, there are conflicts. Like I said, I grew up in a Protestant church, and then converted to Catholicism. And so it has become really enjoyable to look at different religions and see metaphysics at work through the ages, even though they may not have called it metaphysics.
Yeah.
Healing and psychic and clairvoyance and visions and things like that. And so I think the struggle is, you talk to the dead,
Mm-hmm.
they think we see the dead rise, and if we ever see the dead rising up, that's not a good thing. But we don't, you don't, I don't, people do. We see them come through the veil. It's what the Irish call the thin veil. They were one of the first ones to call it the thin veil. And so, yeah, there's conflicts, but I think if they will realize New Age is not a religion, it's a new age of thinking. It's a new age of spirituality. It's a new age of enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
People want to know more. So,
yeah. And it seems like they seem to becoming, they seem to be coming more now than they used to, because over the course of the last year, I've noticed that, and I wish there was like, I live alone, so I can't share these stories with anybody as soon as it happens, but it seems like usually at the end of the day, I'll lay down, get ready to sleep, and then suddenly I'll see clearly the spirit's face, the person's face. I can just, if I had a tablet to draw their face, it's like, if I can turn that, and relay that out, and say, okay, capture it and say, does anybody know this person? But and time and time again, I can't say that it happens every night, but quite often, almost at least once a week, spirit will come to me and they'll show themselves to me, and I can clearly see their face. And it's like, wow, who are you? What, who are you trying to give the message to? And I think they're trying to just tell me, I'm here, I'm just waiting around until the next message that you want to deliver to somebody, or,
spirit does like to hang out where the energy is good. And
especially with mediums, all spirit knows who can, who we are, and they just want to gather around and deliver a message when they're ready. So
my wife and I are downstairs for years. It sounds like the commercial, what is it, Progressive Insurance, with the cloggers are upstairs or whatever. Or maybe it's Geico, and it is noisy, it is loud. And we've had people come over here, mediums, and go, they like to hang out. These people are connected to you, maybe from long ago. We did have some people connected to this house because the house is not that old. We've lived here, may be 10 years, but it was, when we bought it, it was only a 4-year-old home. 4-year-old home. And so maybe the land, there was somebody connected to the land. I had mediums say there was a lady who's still connected here, and she needs to transition or finish transition, however you put it. Crossover, whatever. And here's what you need to do. So we did it, because I don't know how to do that stuff. It's to find the safe place for energy is key, and it's crucial. And your place is always a safe place, because they're like, Paul, we're just hanging out. don't mind us, even though we probably just woke you up. Don't mind us. We're just gonna hang out.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of books, I want to get into your books here. The first one, got a copy of it here. We'll have it up on the channel, on the website too, on Conscious Radio Network website. So this was your first book, correct? Channeling the Mothership.
It was the first book, and I was given a lot of readings telling people, you really ought to blog, and then you ought to turn the blog into a book. And Spirit kind of finally said, Jerry, that's the message we've been trying to give you. And I would say to Spirit, you don't understand. I don't like books. I have ADD. I have a short attention span.
Yeah.
And Spirit said, well, just write it like somebody with ADD. So that's what I did. It's blogs, but then I added about 40% of it to make sure it just wasn't a series of blogs. And it was good. It was a very good exercise. And I thought, okay, I've done the book. And they go, oh, no. There's much more to write. And by the way, my wife gave me the title for that one, I think. And then she gave me a title for the new book.
It's very catchy, because I tell you what, when it comes to New Age and everything going on, UFOs and, extraterrestrials and stuff like that, when I first saw the title, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
a UFO guy. I love the X-Files. So,
yeah, I love the X-Files.
It definitely grabs your attention, especially
the mistake I made, because I'm self-published, right? I work with a publisher, Wisdom House Books in North Carolina. But the mistake we made was not putting the subtitle on it. And so the subtitle really describes what's in it. So a lot of people thought it was aliens, and it's just messages from the universe. I looked at the universe as more feminine in nature, more nurturing, more caring. To me, more feminine energy as opposed to masculine energy. I know there's differences between the two, but I just looked at the mothership as the universe is more feminine. And we didn't quite get that message through. I mean, it did okay. It did okay. I didn't know how it was going to do. It did okay. It did fine. I broke even, so fine. And
this book is available and I do remember seeing it at the Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp in the bookstore. It's available online, most online retailers, Amazon, and was it Avalon bookstore?
Well, Avalon hasn't. I'm not. It's funny. I'm sitting there and I've never even sent them a copy and said, what do you think? I probably should do that. Yeah. Spiral Circle, Mystic Minerals, which used to be Gypsy Apothecary, carries it. Yeah. Both the bookstore and the gift shop at Cassadaga sell it. And I need to do more with it. It's just, I'm doing a lot of Spirit Fest and gallery readings. And now I'm actually cutting back on readings during the week to do more writing, because I wrote the second book, and after I came out of the hospital, because I had transplants, I don't want to be jumping around. But it's okay, you'll edit this, I'm sure. It'll make sense of it. I said, well, I'm going to write a book about my experiences in the hospital. And as I laid in, I had all the chapters done. Just the titles of the chapters. And then one day they said, the Spirit said, we need you to write a book about the soul. And I went, it's not an easy subject. There's a lot of great books about the soul out there.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I have never been more energized about writing anything in my life than this book. I have about a dozen pages of single space notes, and Spirit is saying now it's about time to really do more with that. And so I'm hoping 2023 will publish it. And I gotta really put the notes and everything into.
And this is book number 3, correct?
Yeah, book number 3. Yeah.
All right. Then your other book, Beyond the Rational Realm, Lifting the Veil of the Spirit World. This is the latest one, number 2.
Correct. Yeah, it's about a year old. It's done well. very well for me, very well. It's not a bestseller, but both of my books have won awards. This one actually got 3 5-star reviews from a website called Reader's Favorite, and which is hard to get. And it's done very well. I'm very proud of the book. I let go more of I really wanted to try to control the first book, the writing. This one, I kind of let go.
Yeah.
And Spirit said, okay, let us work. And I'm real proud of it. I'm real proud of it.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. That's cool. Let's see. What's your opinion? In your opinion, what is the difference between being spiritual and being religious?
Oh, there's no difference. No, I'm just kidding. There's, when because you run into that, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
The two can work. I mean, the two can work together. But religion's got to give some way to spirituality, and spirituality has to invite themselves into, and as a community, maybe a community is a better way.
Yeah.
Religion cannot exist without spirituality. It cannot. And can spirituality exist without religion? To a certain point, yes. But I mean, the big thing for me is discovering a little bit about yourself from the inside, and then seeing which community like-minded people believe and in what you believe in, and that creates it's like that raises the ascension, that raises the vibrations when you have a collective of community into. But it's like a lot of people will say, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. And this is going to probably upset somebody. I think to some people it's a cop-out. It's a way of not committing to, because you need that community of, you need other people. You can't do it by yourself unless you're called to. You could be a monk, you could be somebody sequestered, you could be Buddha, or who spent a lot of time.
Yeah.
They spend a lot of time in solitude and silence, and that's, if you're called to that, I get it. Those are exceptions, but we need other people. We can't do this alone. And I think sometimes people just say, to avoid saying I'm religious, I'm spiritual. Okay, you can be both.
Yep.
You don't have to go to, even the spiritualist church that I speak at, they have what I want to call, not rules and regulations, but they have mission statements. They have things they believe in. Northland Church, which in Orlando is huge.
Yeah.
It's a, how can I describe it? It's not Baptist, it's not Methodist, it's a
non-denominational type.
Thank you very much. It's non-denominational.
Yeah.
But they still have a mission statement, things they believe in. I speak at Lumina Spiritual Center and in Winter Park. Great people, almost all of mediums and psychics and clairvoyants. And they have mission statements. And so if you find a place that can welcome your spirituality, like, do I embrace everything about Catholicism? No, I don't. Do I embrace a lot about Catholicism? Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that Christianity needs to realize is we're not it.
Yeah.
We've not caught the only train that's heading for the spirit realm. We're just not it. And to say we're it means Native Americans won't make it to the spirit realm. Jewish people, Muslims, whatever, atheists, agnostics. God doesn't pick and choose who makes it. There's dimensions and there's lessons to be learned in spirit realm, things you have to go through. But I think there's just, whether it's an ascension or not, Paul, I think there's a shift in consciousness with people. We've felt it over the last 5-6 years, maybe decade, but especially for me, last 2 or 3 years, and we want to learn more. We
Yeah.
want to know what's out there. What is more? It's almost like we're in the Truman Show, you know,
Yeah.
and things are a facade. And the minute he goes out, he wants to go out. They go, you better be careful. And he walks through the door and goes out. So there's differences, but they can work together. And it's a shame sometimes they just really don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see there is a shifting in the popularity, the views, the type of traffic that's going on, with my website, and the traffic that I'm seeing on particular subjects of shows and stuff like that. I can see what people really want to listen to or not really interested in.
Yeah.
There's controversial stuff. There's, you got the ancient alien theme that's been going on for the last decade or so. You've got the spiritual, the mediumship, the metaphysical. I ran in, what was it? I think it was last night. Friend of mine stopped by the house, one of the real estate brokers that I work with, and he stops by the house really quick. And this is, just right off the cuff. Hey, let's go across the street and grab a quick bite to eat and maybe a drink or something like that. And I'm like, all right, cool. And it was Buffalo Wild Wings. The place was empty. I think we were like one of only 2 people in the entire establishment. We're like, okay, well, we'll sit at the bar really quick. We'll grab a meal. And there was a young waitress, bartender and stuff behind the counter. And before I left, I was like, I asked her, I was like, do you like podcasts? And she goes, yeah. And then my friend goes, he's like, yeah, this is, he's like, yeah, this guy's into, the X-Files and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, I really like the strange and unusual and, the stuff, the spiritualist, the metaphysical type stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I figured you did, because there's a lot of people that have questions now. More people seem to be asking about that stuff, and people seem to be awakening to
Yes.
that stuff, to the metaphysical, to the spiritual, and not that they're walking away from religion, but they're now thinking for themselves. They're now, whether something in their life has happened that made them go, all right, I'm awake now. Maybe I want to know more.
Yeah, and they're going to, and probably in some cases, going to their own churches asking these questions.
Yeah.
And of course, they're not getting the answers.
Yep.
That they're looking for. I'm not blaming the churches, just the churches aren't equipped to handle that stuff, or certain religions. And they're not getting answers. They're like, I mean, I got to tell you, majority of my clients, if I call them clients, the last 2 years, new clients. I was, I have a website. It's not as, it's there, and we do it. And the folks, Diamondback Marketing, does a very good job with it, but I'm not as active on it as I should be. And they'll go on the website. I found you on the website. I was looking for, and I looked at on Facebook or whatever social, and I found your website, and I'd say this year already, 70% brand new clients.
Wow.
Because they're looking. Somebody told them about me, just like somebody tells them about you, Paul. And you ought to check this guy out. Because they watch Long Island Medium, who's Catholic, John Edwards, who's Catholic, and especially one I really like, Tyler Henry. I really like this kid. And they go, I wonder where I can go. I wonder what it'd be like to get a reading,
Yeah, the amount of time.
I didn't mean to go on a tangent.
Yeah, the amount of time that I was a student medium, probably about a good 10 years, at least 8 to 10 years.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Going through the student mediumship programs and stuff. And we would do readings at fairs. We were allowed by, our instructors and stuff like that through the Reverend late Reverend Ben Cox of the Chapel of Spiritual Light. He'd allow all his students to come in to do these fairs, but we wouldn't, the church wouldn't charge anything for the student mediums to do the readings. We were kind of like there to hone our gifts, actually as practice. And as the guests were waiting to have their actual paid reading done, we would do readings on them. And it helped us. It helped us as
Absolutely.
To give us confidence. And that's the thing too, it gives us confidence. It's an exercise, kind of like playing an instrument, see, okay, can you play this song? All right, good. You were sufficient and efficient and proficient in doing it.
Yeah.
So, and I was surprised. I surprised myself. I think the last psychic fair that I did was seven readings that particular day, and they were all spot on, and it gave me confidence.
Yeah.
I had a lot of self-doubt. I was like doubting myself.
Sure.
At the time, and
yeah, when I first started doing readings, there were three obstacles. What does the Catholic Church say? What does the Bible say? And my analytical self. Yeah. The analytical self, by far, the most difficult hurdle to overcome, because your left side of the brain, your logic and all that, and it analyzes and labels everything.
Yeah.
And you're not talking to somebody who's been passed for 10, 20 years. Knock it off. You're not doing this. You're not doing that.
Yep.
No, it's not a validation. I mean, left side of brain a lot of times becomes your biggest critic. You just got lucky with that one, Jerry. You're just lucky. You really didn't connect. And quite honestly, 8 years later, maybe 2 or 3% of that still creeps in from time to time.
Yeah.
And so I have to pray. I have to cleanse. I have to, like candles, do all the stuff you do, and I pray, and yeah.
And I tell a lot of friends of mine that ask me all the time, how do you do it? How, or some, whether it's strangers or associates and stuff like that approach me about mediumship, and they're like, I don't think I can't seem to meditate. I can't seem to do this. I can't seem to do that. And I was like, the first key into learning mediumship and attuning yourself is definitely one, meditation. Meditation definitely helps. It helps you to get away from yourself. You have to be able to walk away from yourself and allow your being, to attune this instrument into receiving the messages. And and I tell people too, your body is like an instrument. For any of the musicians out there that have first picked up an instrument, we're not all that lucky like Mozart. You can play, a symphony all, immediately. We have to be able to attune this instrument and practice and practice and practice. And meditation is that practice, and allowing us to step away from ourselves for a moment and escape that critical thinking, because that mind, that computer we have in our brain, always gets in the way and second guesses.
Yeah.
When we get a message, we always second guess it, going, is that the actual message, or is it not the actual message? We don't know. It's like, so we get it, we deliver it immediately.
Yeah, it's like, I tell people all the time, something will come up, right? Say a lamp. And they'll go, well, what does that mean? I said, listen, if it's random, I really pay attention to it, because it's not a part of my memory.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about a lamp. All of a sudden there's a lamp. It could be clairvoyant, which means could be symbolic, could be literal, could be, I'm not seeing by near there. And so you do those things. And it's like, I follow this Franciscan mystic called Richard Rohr, R-O-H-R. The guy's incredible. And he has some really good quotes. He's written probably a dozen bestsellers. Yeah. And one of his quotes is, instead of trying harder, surrender more. And so I have to remember that. And I spent 8 months in the hospital with the transplants. And that was in 2020. So we're now in 2022. So it's been 2 years. And it's been difficult getting back to meditation. When you get out of that,
Yeah.
people say, didn't you meditate in the hospital? No, I just laid there wondering seriously if I was going to live or die. Because they gave me a 15% chance of living.
Wow.
And so I'm like, oh, I'm going to get into a sacred state. No, I'm only human. I was a little pissed off that the virus attacked my heart and they didn't know what it was. And but I tried too hard. Paul, I just tried too hard. That's when I go back to the first time I meditate, it's all the Spirit saying, you're trying too hard. Just, if you can't empty your mind, this is what Spirit's told me in the last year, cleanse your mind. I got ADD and I'm OCD. Unfortunately, none of those are professional credentials. You see all that, not really professional. And the mind's going to cleanse it.
Yeah.
And if there's thoughts in your mind, okay, I acknowledge it. Let me try to set you over here for a minute. It's difficult, it takes practice, but I committed myself into getting back into meditation. Because that's the connection. That's the connection. So you're absolutely right. You gotta meditate, and to me, you gotta have the desire, the want, not to be a medium, just to connect, just to channel, and I've come full circle. 8 years later, in the beginning, I thought it was all about I gotta go out and do readings. I just gotta go out and do readings, and I made a lot of mistakes, Paul. I really did. And so now I've come full circle 8 years later and said, okay, I really need to take the time to slow down and connect like I know I can. In the last 2 weeks, I got to tell you, I feel such a strong connection that I haven't felt in years. And so it's a beautiful thing to connect and know that there are higher beings who want to speak, who want to give messages. I tell people, I really, the goal of me be doing this work is to give somebody either closure, clarity, or some comfort. And for me, I'm sure it's more, but I just narrowed everything down to 3s for some reason. So, and that's what I'm really trying to do, is give them so they can go and live their lives and not let the guilt, as you pointed out at the beginning of this, not let that guilt hold them down like a ball and chain,
Yeah, because God wants us to live to our fullest potential, and to carry that guilt with us throughout our lifetime, or at any particular stage in our life, is what holds us back. And for us to be who God truly wanted us to be, and to experience our true selves, our divine selves, to its fullest potential, and having these roadblocks and these things that are blocking us from doing that is a true gift to the medium or the psychic, to be able to offer that to help people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Let's see, are you going to be at the upcoming Sarasota Spirit Fest?
I will. It'll be my first gallery reading I've ever done in Sarasota, and the first one of this year. I had to go back to the hospital for about a week and a half.
Yeah.
January, February. And so I'm actually going to try to do, at this point, I'm planning on doing every Spirit Fest for the rest of the year. So I'm really looking forward to, I like the gallery readings. Spirit's leading me in a different direction of doing them. And actually, Spirit has shown me a different way of doing my one-on-one readings as well. And I'm looking forward to doing that. And when I do a gallery reading, everybody gets a message. Now, how can that be? In 2 hours, I don't know about you, I can maybe do 15, 18, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But I sit at the table and I just write out 30, 40 messages on a piece of paper, fold it, put it in an envelope, and put a one word like serenity or peace or whatever. And I don't even pass them out. The people who don't get a verbal message will get a small, quick written message.
Huh.
And I just pass around. It's amazing because some of this stuff, I'm writing, I'm going, Spirit, really? You sure this is kind of deep? Because you've done that. You've done those. You don't know who's going to be there. You don't have the names. I don't want the names. We don't want the name. That's too much information, or even the slightest bit of information can influence and impact the reading, which not know anything about the people. So that what comes through, we know is not a memory. And it never fails that people I give these to, that they pick out, will come back and say, oh my God, this was spot on. How'd you know? And I said, I didn't. Spirit knew. I didn't. I write maybe a paragraph. And I think the biggest one we did was in Jacksonville, not this year, but first part of 2021. We had 70 people.
Wow.
It started out 30, then got 40, and it got to 50. 70 in the room was a tight squeeze. It was probably a bit too much, but it was good. It was really good. And so even during the metaphysical gifts, this, we're always learning. We're always learning more. Each reading, each message gets us to where we can be more effective at helping people on their path. And to me, that's, and part of my thing is to help people discover their own metaphysical gifts that maybe they never knew they had. So anyway.
Yeah.
So yes, I will be at Sarah. So I guess I could have just said yes and left all that stuff out. But yeah.
Well, you gotta add the meat to the meal, like
that's a lot of meat.
I will be there too, because I wasn't able to make Largo because I did the Lakeland one, I did the Jacksonville one, I missed the Largo one, but I'll be there on the beginning of April in Sarasota. I do plan on the Melbourne one and the West Palm one. So I'm also on the board. Mary Ellen made me put me.
Yes.
I guess a lot of people were asking. I was like, let's put Paul on the board. He seems to be kind of, there.
Yeah, she asked me, should Paul be on the board? I said, not on your life. Big mistake. No, I'm just kidding. I said, I don't know if he remembers me or not, but we met, and what happened is I went into the hospital. That's when I went into the hospital, that I couldn't speak at the church you were at. But no, we're both fellow board members, and it's great. She's got some great things, sounds like, lined up. I don't know any more than you do.
Yeah.
But she wants to expand this outside Florida.
I tell you, she'd like to expand outside of Florida. But right now it's like the venues are getting larger and larger and larger.
They are.
It's just wow.
Yeah.
And I've told everybody on this show, all the listeners and viewers and stuff like that, that if you haven't been to a Spirit Fest yet, please. The last one you went to was like 4 or 5 years ago, you're now missing out because it has exponentially grown.
You're right. When I met you, I think there were a dozen vendors in that hotel. There were a dozen vendors, and
we're now booking arenas. They're conventions.
Now there's 60 to 100 vendors.
Yeah,
depending on where it's at, and now it's huge. It's huge. So there's a lot of readers there. I don't do the readings. I mean, I'll do the gallery reading, and on Sunday, then she lets me something, and I'll sell my latest book. You don't have a copy of my latest book, do you?
I do not have a copy of the latest book.
Hey, mommy, this is my latest book. Wait a minute.
Awesome.
How can I straighten this out?
All right. There we go. I'll do is I have a digital copy of the front cover, and it'll be on the show.
After the show gets over, send me your address. I'll send you a copy.
Okay, awesome.
We're glad to be on the board. And you're right, these Spirit Fest, first it was 2 or 3 a year, and now there's
a dozen. Almost at least once a month. We skipped the last one, but it's there's at least one per month now. At least. So
Yeah. And there's a lot of areas you can go into that. Yeah. And and the crowds are great. You get a lot. You pay to hear me or somebody like you or somebody like that. But there's a lot of free workshops that you can
Yeah.
participate and look at. It's just a lot of really good stuff. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of the shows too, and the viewers, our viewership and our subscriptionship has gone substantially higher. We're about 600 subscribers for the YouTube channel.
Wow.
But I also want to let the new listeners or the current listeners and subscribers to know that Conscious Radio Network we've been voted as the official podcast and radio station for the Spirit Fest. So we'll be covering these shows and doing like a documentary of the show.
Nice,
like
nice,
that.
Nice.
Yeah. And if there's anybody out there, because I would like to do a show too of getting people's opinions, guests that have, everybody's experience about the show.
Yeah.
And maybe doing a documentary of that to put on the YouTube channel.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's for those who have attended a Spirit Fest, as a guest or as a customer and stuff like that, whatnot. What did you think? How did you feel? What did it make you? Did it change you in any way? So yeah, I want to get a little bit more. I want to dig deep into getting the word out nationally, internationally, and getting these validations. Or I wouldn't say validations. What are those called? Testimonials. Getting testimonials. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I have another question though too. Is speaking, especially when it comes to groups and stuff. How does the energy work with a group? And is it difficult to focus in that type of environment?
Oh, it's a great question. It can be. Bless you. That was my wife downstairs. The loft is open, but I tell you, without her, I wouldn't be here today. She was my caregiver when I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And she's the one that when they said basically take him home to die, she refused and said, I will take him home to live. 8 months later, I made it home. So I owe her a lot. She's an incredible woman.
She is. What's her name?
Mary.
Mary. Blessings, Mary. Thank you.
Oh man, she is. And she's an empath and a healer. And she saw the face and the body of my transplant, my donor.
Yeah.
I felt when I was in the hospital, I knew it was somebody that wasn't Caucasian. I just couldn't figure out who it is. And it is a 16-year-old boy from the west coast of Florida, of Cuban descent.
Yeah.
And a tremendous young man. And through Mary, we've grown close to the family, mainly through Mary's efforts. And so we look forward to going over there and meeting them because they want to meet us. Energy in a group, it's funny. I've done group readings several different ways. And Spirit really wants me to do a new way of a group. Like last Saturday, I did from grief to hope. And these are a lot of parents that have lost children. There's probably, I don't know, close to 30 people in the Zoom, about 27. Wow. And in the past, Paul, I would pick out someone and I felt and somebody would go, no. And so there was a lot of energy coming in at once, a lot of children who wanted to talk to their parents, right? And Spirit had said, listen, next time you do a group reading, just stand there and we'll direct you. See, that's my analytical self, my left side of my brain trying to control things.
Yeah.
And we will direct you and you will just say. And so the energy can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. This was about an hour. I did readings. Yeah, about an hour. And then I did Sanctuary Wednesday night, and that was about 30, 40 minutes. She's going to have you on one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why she hasn't had you on.
I think she's got, She does plan on being in a studio, I think the 2 weeks before the next Spirit Fest.
Oh, nice, nice, nice.
I was like, I want you in the studio.
Yeah, yeah,
Be in
yeah,
the studio to do this.
yeah. And so the energy can get overwhelming. It's just trying to figure out. I have a spirit guide, Monsignor. I always call him the gatekeeper, and I ask him to try to control the flow. And sometimes I just completely forget, and here they come. And it can overwhelm you to where several people are talking at once, or you get several messages at once, or you get several energies talking to you at once, and that's when it become overwhelming. But like I said, every group reading or every individual reading is a learning experience for me. It really is. I learned something else that Spirit wants me to do to be more effective in helping people. So yeah, it can be overwhelming.
And that brings up the I wouldn't say next question, but then the next statement is I would definitely like to. I think I've only done one thus far. I think with Alexander Nemo is we did a live show, and it was fairly successful. We only had one caller, but maybe we can do a show where we can have someone, some listeners call in and ask you a question, and we can connect them through voice and stuff like that and do some readings.
Before I went into the hospital, I actually had a radio show on 96.5 FM.
Okay.
Yeah. The J Mac Medium show. And with my ADD, you'll appreciate this. I had a screen on the right side. I know it looks like I'm going left, but I'm going right. And that was people who were texting. Most of them wanting to know where the heck Clark Howard was, the consumer warrior, and what's this idiot doing on the show?
Yeah.
But a lot of people would text, and then in the middle was a screen that really didn't have anything. To the left was the people calling in and who they wanted to talk to. Then Patrick was the engineer. I did this through Cox Radio. I had headphones, and the right side, he's talking to me, telling me when, and then the left side was the commercials advertised. And it never failed that Spirit just delivered so beautifully. And the lines were already lit up. They were always lit up. Now there's 9 lines, right? Mm-hmm. And again, this was over FM station. Yeah. It was a beautiful experience. I even took calls offline because there's people waiting. I was on for 2 hours. Let's be honest, Paul, a lot of that was advertising. They're also a news weather traffic station. At least they were then. This is WDBO. They've sold the station. I think it's a Hispanic or Spanish station. And so I don't do the show anymore. They loved it. I didn't get paid for it. I just wanted to do it and thought maybe someday it'll lead to something. But I would love to make my way into the studio so we can take some calls. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I loved it. And the challenge, I can tell you the challenge, where a lot of times I don't give Spirit enough time, so I kind of speed up a little bit. And sometimes I try to slow down. Most of the time, you slow down. You're just trying to ascertain what the message and who's bringing it. And on the radio, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know this. That's dead time. Get it? Dead time. Is quiet time is, no, that's not good. That's radio silence. And so you got to move quick. But see, Spirit knows that. Spirit knows, okay, we got to get messages quick. And it was great. So yeah, let's plan for that. I'd love that.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been telling a lot of people who want to do the show. I've started actually getting emails. I got an email from somebody just a couple of days ago that wants to be on the show, and they heard from me, I think, through the website, and I think they're in a different state, so they don't know about the Spirit Fest or anything and whatnot. So the word is getting out there through my Google Analytics and SEOs and stuff like that, there are other practitioners outside the state that are now learning about Conscious Radio Network. And it's a word of mouth. And like I said, too, we're also on, after this airs on YouTube after all the video broadcasts are aired on YouTube, it then hits iHeartRadio, it hits Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, which is an Amazon and Alexa based thing, soon to be on Pandora Radio, and I think I'm doing Google, not Google, iTunes podcast or something like that. So I'm kind of getting out there as many different podcast outlets as possible. So, but yeah, and I tell everybody too, is like, if you have the option to, depending on where you are in the Central Florida area, if you want to do something in the studio, let's do studio, because it makes it, Nancy Robbins.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Since she's so close, in the Clairvoyant.
Yeah, she's your neighbor.
Yeah, pretty much. She's my neighbor, and she, every time I ask her if she wants to do a show, she's like, "Yep, let's do studio." Immediately, let's do studio.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's so with your new book, you'll have your book at the next show in Sarasota.
Yeah, I sell it retails for $12.95, but whenever I do Spirit Fest, someplace like that, I sell it for $10.
Okay.
Sign it and give people a discount. And, most people have a 20 or 10 or 2 5s or whatever, as opposed to $12.95. Nobody carries nothing against nickels, but nobody carries nickels anymore. Or change for that matter. It's either debit card or it's little paper portraits of presidents that happen to be green.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody got a Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh man. So for anybody out there, any of our listeners and viewers that want to reach out to Jerry McDaniel on, you can find him at his website, www.jmacmedium.com.
Correct.
Or you can email him, same thing, jmacmedium@gmail.com. You're also on Facebook, JMac Medium, JMAC Medium, MEDIUM.
Correct.
Let's see.
I like my business model to be simple.
Yeah. I tried to do that when I got into real estate a couple of years ago, got my license and started working with brokers and stuff like that. They were like, keep everything consistent. If you have multiple social networks, try to keep your name the same across all outlets. But it's hard. Every time I tried to save, kind of keep it the same somewhere else or whatnot, it was already taken. I'm like,
yeah, somebody's got it.
Take that. That's my name.
Yeah.
Who else is out there using my name?
Yeah, really.
Oh man. Yes. Yeah. Yep. But let's see. Can you believe it's been an hour? Wow, a little over an hour.
Wow.
Time flies when you're having fun, man. Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's going to be the title of your third book?
Third book is going to be called Trinity of the Soul, and not the Trinity of the Soul, because I think the soul has many different parts to it. I just picked 3 that I thought, and I'm still toying with that. One's navigation, one may be communication or connection, and then the third will be transformation. And that's where I have all this information just pouring out. I look for the title first to see if there's energy in the title. Mm-hmm. So I'll probably do it backwards. But I just choose the title first, and from that, the information flows. Yeah. And I'll go through, I've gone through in this one 3 title changes, may have another one. I don't think I will, but you never know. But it's like a dozen pages of single space notes. And I'm like, I've never written this much. And I write, Paul, a fragment of a sentence a day. I'm not disciplined. I just wait for something and I go, oh, that's a good word. And I'll just put on my iPhone notes. I'll just, and it's going to be metaphysical, but it's going to be a different, I don't know if it's an entirely different look. I have no idea. Like, there's tons of books on the soul out there. Never intended to write one. And then, so that one's probably 2023. I think it'll take me a while now to put all this together. I think in the next 30, 60 days, Spirit wants me to really start to put this together. I use foam core, and I lay out all the chapters and sub-chapters and the three sections of the book, the Trinity. Not the Trinity. When you say the Trinity, it means it's the only thing. So I didn't say the Trinity, I just said Trinity of the Spirit. And then it will be the subtitle I'm working on, but right now it's an outside look at your inner self. That may change, because the subtitle is what really sells the book. The title may, may garner some interest, but you got to have a nice, good subtitle that will explain perhaps. And then I always put Jerry McDaniel. Now I'm putting Jerry McDaniel Clairvoyant. So they know there's some metaphysical to it. The first one, I don't know if I did. I may have put Psychic Medium on the first one, Channel of Emotion. I can't remember.
This one, I think it is, it's Jerry McDaniel, Psychic Medium, and Clairvoyant.
And Clairvoyant. Yeah. That's too much. So it's too much. Because clairvoyance was the first gift I really learned and latched on to. So this one says Jerry McDaniel Clairvoyant. You can't probably see it.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
And that's just what it's going to be. And that's just kind of tells people, number one, it's going to be a nonfiction. It's going to be a mind-body spirit book. But this one has, and I've had other mediums say, this third book's not going to be anything like you wrote in the first two. And I said, so far it isn't. But it will talk about spirit guides, higher self, ascension, dimensions. And it will be a thicker book. This one's going to have to be a thicker book. You've seen with that book, my books are, 160, 100. It doesn't have to be real thick, but it will still be an easy read or easier read. That's how I write, because that's how I read. And I like to, if I see a thick book, if you're like me, you're probably not like me, but if you're like me, you feel defeated already. Like I can't really, no, I'm defeated.
Yeah, the really, really, really thick books like Stephen King. I mean, Stephen King, anytime you see a Stephen King book, it's like a dictionary. It's so thick. And it's like, as soon as I see books like that, I immediately get intimidated. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I'm excited about this book. I'm just real excited. I've been writing more than I have. And again, maybe a sentence or two a day. I don't sit down and discipline myself. It's just when I hear a thought, I go, that belongs. And then the fourth book will be, I do have the title for the fourth book, which would probably be 2025, 2026. I just, I give myself 2 to 3 years to write a book and to make sure it breaks even. Or makes a little bit of money. And that's going to be called The Souls of Suicide. But the people who I want to tell their story as best as I can, as a way to prove to more of the fundamentalists that if you do the act of taking your own life, you don't languish in hell. You have to learn lessons or lower dimensions, but you're not doomed to a life.
Yeah.
Because if you were, I wouldn't be able to connect with them. So
True.
Anyway.
True.
So I'm real excited about writing these books coming up.
Wow. Cool. Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm like, ooh, I gotta read that.
Good.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm still working on mine. My first book. I mean, I've written a bunch of stuff in the past, but I've never really published it. It's like, but I've been working on my first book publishing for a while. Right now it's called My Time, and actually, no, it's called Your Time. And it's about, kind of it's supposed to touch base on our being, our higher selves, getting in connection with our higher selves, into our,
Oh, nice.
our
Nice.
spiritual self, our soul self, our eternal self. And then have a portion of the
Nice.
book that actually is a channeling, to where I go in and actually channel the spirit and connect the spirit, and will be a dialogue format of me speaking to spirit, and the conversation back and forth in dialogue form on a particular message that spirit wants to deliver based on that book and the message of that book to the reader. So
Nice. I like that. Your Time. Oh, I like that. It's a good title.
yeah,
It's got good energy to it.
yeah. But I've been procrastinating. It's like
Well,
spirit's like, it'll take time, but when it's ready, when
it'll
you're
take
ready, do
time.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And you'll, yeah, what I'm getting now is you'll get a follow-up to that. Or almost like, what's Spirit Time? Almost like a manual to that, or, a companion piece to that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
will be a good book. So I don't know if you thought about that, but Spirit's saying that it's going to be a companion piece.
Okay.
Should hit the shelves within the next 12 months, is what they're saying.
Huh.
Um,
Wow.
do you know how many pages? Because I'm getting close between 180 and
Probably,
200.
probably about anywhere between 120,
Okay.
to 150, maybe just short of
Okay.
200.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was getting between 180 and 200, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you should probably charge more than I charge for my books. I'm gonna have to raise my price on books from
Yeah. Yeah.
not make any money.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to break even, folks. Just trying to break even. That's all I
I hear
want to
you.
do.
I hear you. I even got the book. I even got the book cover. I developed and designed the whole book cover a couple years ago and stuff. And
Wow.
I
Wow.
got it all laid out and whatnot. When you're in studio, I'll show you the book cover. You'll be like, wow,
Oh, yeah.
really
I'd
cool.
love to see it.
Yeah. And
Love to see. Yeah, because I actually may lose my publisher.
really,
Yeah, I'm gonna have, I think it's a husband and wife team. They do a great job, but I I just may have to look for a new publisher. Let's just put it that way.
mm.
So
Yeah, I've been reaching out to a lot of other publishers, and a bunch of authors. I'll probably get with you later on, maybe probably in Sarasota, and ask you. I'm kind of looking at the direction of which, because I want to self-publish,
yeah,
and looking at doing the self-publishing thing, and kind
yeah,
of having control of my work, and what the best route is, and stuff like that. So,
yeah. Traditional publishers, you lose a lot of control,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so self-publishing, I'm able to control a lot. Control, you know, I may not get the I get the distribution. I may not get it as wide as a traditional publisher. It may never be a bestseller. That's okay, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah,
Is
a
the
lot.
are your books also on digital format, like Kindle or anything?
Yeah, that's another. It's another. It's been approved and the files are uploaded and it's ready for distribution since September.
Yeah.
And that's the struggle I'm having right now. They haven't released it, and it's not. Yeah, we're in the middle of. It shouldn't mean I've already paid for it.
Yeah.
Like I tell you, ebook is the easiest way to go, but I just like having the physical book. That's
Oh
just
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have both, and of course, audiobook now is the biggest room for growth. Is audiobook. They were supposed to do an audiobook for me, but it never happened. But that's okay. I just want the ebook out.
Mhm.
We're struggling with that right now.
Yeah. 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 Ebooks becoming popular with the younger crowd.
Oh, absolutely.
I can never go with an e. I tried ebook, and it just there's something about holding a book in my hand, and the energy, it's like, like with this book, for instance, it's like I'm holding part of your energy, I'm holding part of your
Yeah.
creation, and there's more of a personal connection with the reader and the author when you have the book in hand.
Yeah, I agree. My wife reads, oh, she reads in one day what I read in probably 1 year. And I got her, it was back when Borders was open. They had their little, it wasn't a Kindle, it was something else, Kobe
Yeah.
or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if she'd like it or not. She loves it.
Eh.
Me, I'm old fashioned. So I just like, like you said, holding the book and the paper. And I just, yeah. And now that you mentioned, the energy, because our energy is imprinted on everything, right? So, yeah. Is your book cover blue and gray? What's blue and gray about?
It's got like actually, I tell you what, even though we're recording, I don't care. Let me step aside for just a moment. I'll grab a copy of it for you. It's amazing. So I've yet to, now that you said blue and gray, it's kind of,
that's what Spirit was. That's the colors I was picking up.
Yeah. I'm looking for, originally I was going to have, because when I asked Andrea Perrin if she wanted to do the forward to it, I'd put her name on it. So I added her to it, but this is that's the cover.
Nice.
I actually made the entire leaflet.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
but it's a full moon rising.
Yeah, with the tree. Yeah.
Tree. And that tree is the symbol of us. We are the lone being out there. Even though we're separated, we're part of the universe. And it kind of gives us that
nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I designed that cover. Oh wow. Quite some time, at least about a couple years ago. But studies in consciousness, the human condition, paranormal and anomalous phenomenon with dialogue from the other side. So now I just got to write it.
Well, it's there in your head. I mean, it's there in your, it's just putting the pen to paper. Yeah, it's there. And it's almost like chapter 3 is going to be a really big chapter. I don't know what chapter 3 is, but
because I got the outline, and then I got the outlines as far as the chapters and their titles and stuff and whatnot. So
and I do see you doing workshops on that. The Your Time workshops where you can talk about the book, do readings or whatever, and then I do see that. That's good.
Spirit told me some time ago, if I want to do a fast track write of the book, is to take like a week off, take a week off of everything, of the outside world, and go camping. Bring my laptop with me and just sit there and channel and just a complete full download of the book onto paper or onto the press. So I'm like, okay. Now it's just setting that time aside.
Yeah.
It's like cramming for your final exam in college. It's kind of like what it feels like.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, but let's see, do I have any other questions? Or are there any other questions that I can't think of anything. I think I've exhausted all the major questions for you.
Well, I hope it's been a good interview.
Oh, it has. It has. It has for me. It's been
As for me, thank you.
awesome. But yeah, so any of our listeners and viewers and stuff, we are on most of the podcast outlets, not iTunes, soon to be iTunes, Pandora, well, soon to be on Pandora, but we are on iHeartRadio, our iHeart podcast, we're on Spotify, we're on TuneIn Radio, we're on Google Podcasts. And if you want to reach out to Jerry, you can find him on his website again, www.jmacmedium.com. And email at Gmail, jmacmedium@gmail.com. And you can find all of Jerry's information on the Conscious Radio Network website. The videos, all the videos and stuff like that we do on our podcast has a specific page for that, or you can listen to, like I said, to all the outlets and stuff, one-stop shop on the Conscious Radio Network website. Other than that, yeah, let's probably arrange a in studio live, probably maybe a live broadcast in studio, and then taking calls.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Some readings and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be great. Love it.
Yeah. And for anybody who wants to see Jerry in person, he will be at the Sarasota Spirit Fest Saturday and Sunday, April 2nd and 3rd.
I'll just be there on Sunday.
All just on Sunday. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do the gallery reading in the morning, and I'll sell books at the table afterwards.
All right. Yeah. Well, Sunday the 3rd, you will be out there. And then the Melbourne is after that, the next month after that, and then I think it's West Palm in June, I think it is. Yeah, June. So yeah, awesome. So great. Well, it's been a pleasure, Jerry.
Yeah, same here. Thank you. God bless.
Let's do this again.
All right.
Thank you. And for our viewers and listeners, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and go to consciousradionetwork.com. You'll find us there. Thank you again for listening and viewing. And until next time, thank you very much. You all have a
thank you.
Good evening or good night. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.